Hey everybody, welcome back to the 815 Sports Podcast. Me and Jake doing a video for our Week 14 picks. We're going to talk about how our teams looked really great this week, and we're going to talk about the college football playoff. I know Jake has a little bit to say about that. But to kick it off, I'm sure most of you watched Sunday Night Football. The Packers pulled it out 27-19. And I got to admit, Jake, I'm sure you can agree, they looked pretty damn good the whole game. They looked like they controlled the game. They had nice long drives, kept Mahomes off the field. Forced field goals when they needed to, which was really the difference in the game.
I think in the first half there was like 4 or 5 possessions
There was only 6 total possessions in the
first half.
Yeah.
And I think the Packers scored on all their possessions besides the last one, which
They punted.
should have been a field goal.
Yeah.
If it was managed right. So yeah, they looked really good. I mean, let's be honest. That could be one of the biggest upsets of the year. And probably it obviously is the biggest Packers win of the year. I know it's not in the same division or conference, but it was a win that says, hey, we're still here.
Yeah, and I think it also says, I think this solidifies in what should be every Packers fan mind, and especially in my mind, that Jordan Love is the franchise guy going forward.
He's probably the future.
I think he's looked phenomenal the past 3 weeks, especially the past 2, knocking off the Lions. Nobody thought they were going to win that game. Let's be honest. You going against the Chiefs. I looked at the NBC thing. Everybody on the panel picked the Chiefs. Nobody was expecting us to win this game. And Love comes out and he completes 25 of 36 passes for 267 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 118.5. He got the ball to all the different young wide receivers who I'll also say they're all first and second year guys, and they have the most total receiving yards they're the youngest receiving core with the most total receiving yards in the NFL if you just count first and second year players. But they look phenomenal last night. The defense did enough to get it done. Our kicker came through when he needed to make a field goal, and I was just very pleased with what I saw.
I think the difference in the game is that it wasn't back and forth. Like, you kept the Chiefs off the field, and that's how you beat them.
Yeah.
You can't have them on the field repetitively because they will put points up.
Mm-hmm.
And how about holding them to 2 field goals in the first half instead of touchdowns? That's how you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That is the recipe. And I know the Dolphins lost to them, but the Dolphins also gave a recipe on how to beat the Chiefs when Travis Kelce was targeted like 3 times in the game. That is how you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm not sure which game was a bigger win for the Packers versus Detroit or Kansas City. I kind of think because at home, you just expect your team to win at home more times than not. So I kind of think that Detroit win
I think
is
it
a little bit more
run.
means a little bit more than this one. But since they're defending champs and we know how good they are, I kind of think the Kansas City win is more important than the road one. I know they were at home, and I know how they play at home, but I don't know. 2 great wins nonetheless. I mean,
yeah, just phenomenal win, and I can't wait to keep watching this team going forward. And I want to give credit to LaFleur. I know you guys have heard me say some things about Love and Coach LaFleur on here, but he actually called a pretty damn good game last night. And the young guys looked good last night. I got to give them credit, and I hope that continues going forward. But I just want to say, I guess thank you to the Packers front office and how they do things, because I guess patience pays off, and when you have stability with your front office, your coaching staff, and your players who get to develop a little bit, you can see the results. And I don't know, the Packers have figured it out, and I think other teams should maybe take note of it. But it's a what are you doing for me now league, and the Packers have kind of said, well, we're going to keep doing it our way. So I was just really proud of the win last night, and I can't wait to see them play again this week. With that being said, I know Jake had said a lot of things we had talked about the college football playoff and the 4 teams that got in. You got Bama. They got in at 4. You got Texas at 3, Washington at 2, and you got Michigan at 1. Michigan will play Bama on New Year's Day, and Washington will play Texas on New Year's Day as well. Jake, I'll let you go ahead there. I know you got a lot to say.
I don't think the committee did anybody justice by putting in Alabama besides Alabama. I just don't think you play an entire season and you go undefeated in a Power 5 conference and you win your championship game and you're sitting at home because of one player. I just don't get it. I just really don't. And I know a lot of people are going to have arguments against it, and that's fine. And I understand Alabama is right now the better team than Florida State. But aren't we not supposed to look at it as the whole? Because if we're not looking at this as a whole, then what is the point of a regular season? They beat LSU. Oh, it happened the first week of the season. Well, then fuck playing hard games to start the season. Then just play the cake puffs like a lot of schools do. Because if the games aren't going to mean anything at the end of the year, why play them at the beginning of the year? If it's what you're doing for me now, like I heard this one guy, I think his name's Boo, whatever. He was the lead thing in the committee. He said, we kind of look at it as what you're doing now for me, like the last couple of weeks. Well,
resume should matter.
You lose all credibility to me then, because what is the point of scheduling these? When college football starts, we're not all excited the first couple of weeks, right? Because we know that the games are they're kind of like gimme games. So a lot of these schools are starting to schedule tough games. Well, if the tough games aren't going to matter at the end of the season, then I wouldn't do it. Then be 3 or 4-0 going into conference play, and then you get your harder games. Because they obviously don't mean nothing. They beat LSU. They beat Miami, who was flirting with being ranked all season. They beat Florida, which is a rival game. They beat Louisville. Say what you want about Louisville looking like shit. They beat Clemson, who's been a powerhouse for how long?
Probably a decade.
And they beat Louisville, who's ranked 14. Right?
Yeah, they were, yeah.
I just don't. They beat Louisville with a third-string quarterback in a neutral site game in the pouring rain. I don't get it. I think Florida State and the ACC was 6-4 versus the SEC this year. 6-4. So you tell me why Alabama gets in just because they're Alabama.
So, in my opinion, I think the committee got this right by putting in the best 4 teams. And if you actually look at the way that they decide this, if you look on their website, it says if there's a significant injury to a team, it will impact their playoff chances. It says that. And when you look at putting in the 4 best teams, how are you not going to put in Alabama when they beat the number 1 team in the country who hasn't lost a game in almost 3 years, back-to-back national champions? And you already knew going in that Michigan was going to get in and Washington was going to get in, and Texas kind of played their way into it. And when they put Texas in, they kind of had to put Bama in.
Texas is the best team in the country. I think they should be 1. I think they're better than Michigan. I think Michigan's resume is not that good. But I do think Michigan will beat Alabama. But I think if you're looking at a resume standpoint, what am I trying to say? If you're looking at a resume standpoint, Michigan's resume, I don't even know if I don't think it stacks up to any of the 4, right?
Well, they beat Ohio State.
Well, Alabama beat Georgia.
Technically, Iowa's ranked. Penn State's ranked.
I mean, you say what you want about the Iowa win, but that team.
I think
terrible.
Iowa sucks.
But it's 10-2, 10-3 is 10-3. I just don't think. I'm just so glad it's changing. I'm so glad it's changing and going to more teams because
Florida State shouldn't have to worry about this. And what I'll also say is
injuries are an act of God. So that would be my argument to the committee. How do you prevent injuries?
You can't. You really can't prevent injuries.
So now we're penalizing a team because of a circumstance that they cannot control.
Well, no, I agree, but this entire thing could have been avoided, because actually the 12-team playoff was supposed to start this year.
Should have.
But you know who voted against it?
Who?
The ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12.
I don't know why.
So it actually came back to bite them in the ass when all these schools could have made the playoff and made extra money. So you're looking at Ohio State getting in. You're looking at Ole Miss getting in. You're looking at Penn State getting in. You're looking at Florida State getting in, no question.
I'm just telling you that Georgia winning 30 out of 31 games and they're sitting right now is beyond me. Just it's terrible.
So you think they should be in
terrible
too?
For the sport of football, college football. Yeah, they should be in.
They're one of the 4 best teams.
They lost on a neutral site to Alabama. Why does Alabama get to lose one game and be in?
I guess because it happened early in the year. I don't know.
When Georgia's back-to-back national champions, they've shown you the most recipes of success. When was Bama's last championship? I mean, it's been a couple
18?
years.
No, 20 with Mac Jones.
It was the COVID one?
Yeah, they won that.
So that's a Mickey Mouse win, just like the Dodgers. But and there's even a case for Ohio State. I mean, they have the best wide receiver in college football. And how much did they lose by to Michigan? That was a pretty good game.
6.
That was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
And that was at Michigan. So you're going to tell me if that game was played in the shoe, Ohio State isn't favored? Or on a neutral site game, Ohio State wouldn't be favored before they lost that game? Like, I understand that home matters, but that's why I'm saying when they expand this and this goes to 12 and these games are played at neutral site games, some of them, these one-loss teams are going to beat these undefeated teams that got those games played at home. And Alabama lost a game at home.
Yeah.
Florida State didn't lose ever. There is no blemish on their record. And if Alabama goes ahead and wins it all, there's a blemish on that record. There's an asterisk because they lost a game. Florida State didn't. And you know what? If I was Florida State, I might decline it. I might decline playing in the Orange Bowl. You fucked me. Go ahead. Who's Georgia gonna play now?
Nobody.
Declare them winners. I don't care. I just seen Dave put that on Twitter, so I just thought I might say I agree with him. I think Florida State got shafted. I think Georgia got shafted. And I think there's even a case for Ohio State.
So, like, basically it would have been great if they had the playoff. And I think Oregon could have competed.
I think Oregon, absolutely. I think Penn State's worthy of not being in the Final Four, but being in the Final 12. I'm just saying.
It's going to be a lot better next year. It will be.
I think so. I think it gives other teams a chance.
They'll have that one random team in that gets in from a lower conference. Though,
right.
Probably
and they probably won't
win. Like a Tulane.
But, I mean, it gives a school like Iowa or a school like Illinois, if they have a good season and they lose 1 or 2 games.
But you could still get in.
But make it to the Big Ten championship game and lose, they could still get in.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm just hoping for Illinois to have a good season and have a chance and maybe get in.
Yeah.
If you're an Illinois football fan like me, this gives you hope. Because they had no hope before. Unless they went undefeated and won the Big Ten, which they've done it, but there's a reason they've only done it about 5 or 6 times. So we can move on. You know what? And don't get me wrong, Alabama is I mean, they might be the best team in the country. But that doesn't mean that what Florida State did should go unnoticed, and it does. It is. They can win the Orange Bowl, and this season is a failure.
I think so. Let me just say this before we completely move on. I think if Alabama doesn't complete that 4th and goal from the 30 to beat Auburn, and they have 2 losses, and then they beat Georgia, I still think Florida State gets shafted because I still think they put Georgia in at 4.
So you're saying they're going to put if Alabama beats Georgia,
they're not going to put in 2-loss Bama.
Oh, but they just beat them in the conference champion. Did you
see what I was saying?
Yeah, you're saying a 2-loss team isn't going to get in.
No.
But I think you put in Bama over Georgia for beating them, and then you put in Florida State as your 4. Right? So you'd have Washington, Michigan, Bama, and Florida State.
So you'd have 2-loss Bama in, but you'd have no Texas.
Wait. Forgot about Texas. That's why it's got to go to 12. Yeah, this is I know Texas is 100% and they earned it.
We'll move on though, because we can go on for days about that. I really don't have too much to say about New England Pittsburgh game. This will be a shit show to watch on Thursday. I'll probably just go to bed.
Well, not so fast. Arizona just beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, and they were 2-10 or whatever, just like New England.
Well, I didn't mean a shit show and one team's going to dominate. I just mean it's going to be shitty football.
No, it's a garbage game. Pittsburgh's got to have it, right? They're 7-5.
Yeah.
It's a big game if you like the Steelers and you want to watch them in the playoffs lose, but they got to have it. They would go to 8-5, and that's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's in the playoffs. It's in the wild card. I also have Pittsburgh. Up next, Bucks at Falcons. This
Is
neither
this for the division?
It's not for the division, but if the Bucks win this game, I believe they'll take over first.
Are they 5-7?
Yeah, and Atlanta's 6-6, I believe.
So this
the
is
Saints
a big
are
game.
6-7, I think.
How are the Saints 6-7?
They haven't had a bye yet, I don't believe. Either that or they're 5-7.
So this is a big game for both teams. Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Going to be a good game. This is a hard game to pick because I feel like these teams are kind of evenly matched.
Yeah.
And I see you're taking Tampa. I think I'm going to take Tampa because of the firepower that they have, like Mike Evans.
Mike Evans having a tremendous year.
They have
I know
Baker
he's not
Mayfield.
talked about a lot, but he's having an awesome year.
They have Baker. I think I maybe trust Tampa more than Atlanta, but Atlanta is at home. I'm going to take Tampa as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take Tampa. I think
I'm not confident in this pick at all.
I don't feel 100% confident in it, but I don't mind the pick at all. It's not my riskiest pick on here. I think Tampa's got a good enough team to beat Atlanta, but I also think this could go either way. Neither of these teams are going to win the Super Bowl, but one of them is going to get in and be a 4 seed because that's the way it's set up.
It wouldn't shock me at all if Atlanta beats Tampa.
No, but I'm going to take Tampa. Lions at Bears. The Lions were kicking the shit out of the Saints this week and nearly completely fumbled it away to only win by 5.
The Lions are kind of teetering with not being taken serious because the thing with the Lions is they're almost losing to bad teams. Okay,
Yeah.
They lost to the Packers,
who are in
better now, but at the time they weren't. Okay, they were 4-8, or they were 4-6, right?
Yeah, 4-6.
Okay, and we were thinking if they lose the next 2 games and go to 4-8, they're toast. And then the Lions almost lose to the Bears.
Yep, the week before. Yep.
And then the Lions almost choke a big game that they had win at the Saints. That's 3 games in a row.
They were up 21-0 in the first
where,
quarter.
look, if you're Super Bowl favorites, you need to win all of those games. And you need to win them like the Dolphins are beating the shitty teams. So while the Dolphins haven't beat a good team, they haven't lost to a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
As to where the Lions have lost to a 500 team.
Yeah.
So, and they're playing really bad. They're not playing really good. I'm just saying they're not playing good football. There's a reason they're favored by 3 and not more. The Dolphins were just favored by 9 on the road to the Commanders.
Won by 30.
And so I'm just saying.
Detroit's defense is not very good. Jared Goff, there's sometimes he's going to look like a pretty decent quarterback, and there's other times he's going to look really bad. But playing against Chicago, it's in Chicago, but I'm going to take Detroit.
I'm taking Detroit, but I'm just telling you to look for the Bears to hang around in this game for a while.
Probably.
Because Justin Fields is a scary quarterback to have back there because he's never going to go down. And all of a sudden you look and there he is 20 yards running down the field. No flag.
Colts at Bengals.
Another stupid game.
Weeks ago, I would have taken the Bengals with Joe Burrow, obviously, but I'm going to take Indianapolis and the Gardner Minshew show. They just came back and beat the Titans. They're actually sitting at 7-5.
I get it.
I'm going to take the Colts.
I think it's a fraud 7-5. I do.
It is 7-5 though. It's
it
fraud,
is 7-5, and it you are what your record states. I get that. I 100% get that. It's just when Indianapolis wins, they don't impress me in their wins. It took them overtime to beat Tennessee. I mean, is Tennessee much better than Cincinnati?
I wouldn't even say they're better than Cincinnati.
So why can't Cincy compete just like
I didn't say they couldn't compete.
No,
I agree.
I'm just in general hindsight, I'm talking They could have themselves the same type of game they just had. And they win those. That's fine because you're a little bit better than those teams. But the thing about it is when you get into the playoffs, you will not win those type of games.
Well, if I was any team in the playoffs, I'd want to play the Colts
or the Steelers.
Yeah, either one of those teams, I feel pretty confident about.
And I'm not saying the Colts aren't a good team, or they're not a solid fundamental team. They might play fundamental football. I just don't trust them to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
Which I'm taking the Colts. I'm just saying. All 4 of these games that we just have said so far are going to be close. So we both got the Colts.
Yeah, we both got the Colts. Up next, we got Jacksonville at Cleveland. I'm going to take the Jaguars. I mean, Joe Flacco is playing a quarterback for the Browns, and I'm not. I've never been a Flacco guy.
No,
I'm going to take the Jags, and
Jags.
I'd take them by 3 too. It's only 3. I'd take them by 3.
I'm taking Jacksonville to win this game pretty easily, which I am rooting like myself. If Cleveland wins, I'm ecstatic because the Dolphins are playing for the 1 seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a big game for the Dolphins, for the Dolphin fans to watch because we're off. We play Monday night. So that is a game that we need to tune into. Dolphin fans also need to tune into tonight's game because we need an upset. But anyways, I got the Jags.
Panthers at Saints. I'm going to take the Saints here. I don't think the Panthers will get their second win this week.
I don't think Carolina's. They might be one of the worst teams in football history. They're terrible. They're 1-10. I know the Dolphins went 1-15, and they might be right along there with the Dolphins as one of the worst teams in NFL history. They're terrible. They just got nothing. Nothing. I don't know where the hope is. I don't know where you go from here. Get Young some talent, I guess, is where I would start. The owner is firing coaches like he's eating lollipops. Left and right, new coach. At some point, you got to give the guy a couple years, because if you don't,
you can't build nothing.
You can't build nothing.
You don't get any players in there.
This coach wants to get these coaches in, so now you're changing all sorts of coaches. I mean, I don't know. And this used to be a respectable. Carolina used to be a respectable team
because under Cam Newton
for years.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it can be done. I mean, I just don't know where you start, though. I mean, it's.
Adam Thielen said before the year that they were a Super Bowl contender team. That might be one of the worst takes of the NFL season.
Yeah. Anyways, we both got the Saints.
Yeah. Up next, Houston Texans at Jets.
Jets. Cole's Jets. He will not mention that he was hot on the Jets. I told him he was wrong, and he finally is going to pick against the Jets. They suck. They're the Jets. They've always sucked. There's no hope. If I was Aaron Rodgers, why would you come back? A team is 4-8.
He's not coming back this year.
Why the fuck you would ever go to the Jets is beyond me. They're one of the worst franchises in football. They have what? Joe Namath? I mean, what else are you talking about if you're a Jets fan?
Rex Ryan,
and Mark Sanchez and Butt Fumble. This is a bad franchise.
Brett Favre.
And even when Brett Favre was here, they were 500. And Chad Pennington still beat the Brett Favre.
Fitzpatrick.
This team is just bad. Bad. Like, I'm talking like...
Tim Boyle.
I'm talking like if Carolina and the Jets played next week, I might pick Carolina. They are terrible. They won't win a game the rest of the year. They will probably finish, 4-12?
They have 4 wins right now.
They will finish 4-12.
4-13.
4-13. And I hope that they don't beat the Dolphins in 2 weeks from now because I will probably hibernate because of what I just said. But they're terrible. I mean, I'm taking Houston in a rout.
I'm going to also take Houston in a rout. CJ Stroud has been incredible this season.
They're a field goal hitting the post from being. They would be 2 or 3 games over 500 instead of just 1.
Yeah, but I do think it's a big loss for them to lose Tank Dell, the rookie wide receiver. He was balling. I still think they're going to come in and win this game. Stroud's just playing really well, and I think they got some good things going for him in Houston. And I actually think they're going to make the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
The Jets are just fucking god awful. I mean,
I tried telling you, you didn't believe me. You did not believe me.
I mean, they have their quarterback options are Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian,
And
Zach Wilson, who supposedly isn't playing because of an injury. And let me also say this: when you go back and you look at the Packers Jets trade, did the Packers get a haul for it? Maybe not. But did they win this trade? If you took a look at it right now, I think that's an obvious yes, because you don't have to deal with Rodgers' cap next year. You got a second round pick coming out of it next year, another round pick, which I believe is in the later rounds. I want to say it's a fourth or a fifth. And you move over, and the Packers, they knew what was going on here. And honestly, even if Rodgers comes back next year, I don't think the Jets are a good enough team to be in Super Bowl contention. So I don't even know what Rodgers is going to do next year besides just kind of waste his talent like the Packers did for years.
I tried talking some sense into you weeks ago. What were you so hot about on the Jets? They're terrible, and they always are.
I don't know. I saw Zach Wilson play good against the Chiefs, and I thought maybe they'd get it
mean,
done.
They did play good that game. I'll give you that. That was a good game. But other than that, you just like to see the Jets on your schedule. And I've always liked to see the Jets on the Dolphins schedule, and I get to see it twice a year. And they seem to always fare well. Watch them lose now, and Frank the Tank come after me.
I love seeing Frank the Tank's videos about the Jets. He sings a little song, a little serenade to them.
The Jets do it their way.
Yeah,
their way is losing.
We both got the Texans. Up next, Rams, Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens. I wouldn't hammer the 7, but I'm going to take the Ravens.
The Rams are starting to find themselves a little more.
They're in the mix.
They've won 2 or 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
And, as a good team, the team you don't want to see is a 500 team because they have got the most to play for. And the Rams are about 500, but I don't think it's this game where they beat Baltimore. I think Baltimore's playing too good. Lamar Jackson's in that MVP candidate talk. Baltimore's fighting for the 1 seed. I think they kind of maybe have their division under control.
I think so.
With the Bengals and the Steelers.
The Browns.
I mean, all those teams are kind of.
I don't think they're going to catch up to them, though.
So they're not really fighting for their division, but they're fighting for the 1 seed.
Yeah.
100%. We both got Baltimore.
Vikings, Raiders. I'm not really feeling the Josh Dobbs show anymore. I know that the Vikings are favored here, but the Raiders are at home, so I'm going to roll with the Raiders.
Not so fast. I'm taking Skull.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Vikings. They're just a team that always hangs around. Didn't find a way to win the game in Denver. Choked. Should have beat the Bears. Even turned the ball over 4 times. Should have beat the Bears.
Yeah.
And look, they're 6-6, and they know they got to have it. And let me tell you, that place is going to be infested with Skull. They will be doing Skull the whole game, and it will probably be annoying if you're a Raider fan there.
Yeah, well, so's the Raiders chant.
Yeah, I know.
Raiders. Wow. And they do that right in your ear, and you're like, dude, get away from me.
Wow. That's just a part of being at home. I mean, I'm sure going to Packers games and hearing bang on the drum every time you score, or going to a Dolphin game and hearing that gaudy 1974 Miami Dolphins #1. But I'm taking Minnesota.
Okay, I'm rolling with the Raiders. Up next, Seattle at Niners. The Niners have looked very impressive throughout the entire year. I think it's the MVPs between Purdy, Tyreek Hill, and Dak Prescott. And I hate to say it, Jake, I think Tyreek Hill is deserving of the award, but the MVP has pretty much become a quarterback award. So I think it's going to go to a quarterback.
If Tyreek gets over 2,000 yards, it's not going to him.
No, I still think
never been done in history of the league.
I still think they'll end up giving it to Purdy.
What about Tua?
I think they'd give it to Hill before they gave it to Tua.
What if the Dolphins have a better record than the Niners to end the season?
I'm just telling you what I'm just telling you what I think.
What if they're the 1 seed in the AFC?
Well, the Niners are probably going to be the 1 seed in the NFC.
What if we have a better record?
I don't know. You can take a look at it. Did they play head-to-head?
Nope.
Well, maybe if you drop 70 on the Dallas Cowboys and embarrass them worse than the Niners
They might have to do something like that.
I would also take the 10.5. Hell of a performance by the 49ers in Philly, though, last week.
Where did Seattle almost beat Who did they almost beat but lose to?
The Cowboys, 41 to like 35.
Okay, and that was the first time Pete Carroll has lost a game when they were scored 35 points or more.
Really?
He was 35-0. I'm just saying, look for Seattle to hang around, knowing this is a game they got to have, knowing this is two division teams. They know each other. Seattle was the big brother. Now San Francisco is kind of becoming the big brother to Seattle. But this is a well-coached team.
So are the Niners.
This is a sound. I know, but this is a sound team. And Pete Carroll, I'm just saying, I'm taking the Niners. I don't know if I'd take the 10.5.
I'm taking the Niners. I would take the 10.5. And I'm also a Niners fan this week because each time Seattle loses, it's better for the Green Bay Packers. So, Bills, Chiefs.
Yeah, who are you rooting for in the Eagles-Niners game?
It didn't really matter to me. And both of those teams are going to win their divisions. So
this is probably the second biggest game of the week. I give the edge to Philly.
What's the first?
Philly, Dallas.
Oh, okay.
Because that's for first place in the NFC East.
That's going to be a great game.
The NFC used to be called the NFC least. Okay, Bills at Chiefs. So this is a big game in many ways. Is Buffalo going to find their stride again? Is Kansas City going to continue to reel? I mean,
I think the Packers exposed Kansas City this past week.
I think Kansas City has been exposed all year. I mean, let's be honest. They lost to the Jets. See, this is what I'm saying. Kansas City lost to the Jets. They lost to the Packers.
They lost to the Eagles.
Well, they're a good team. But what I'm saying is, we penalize the Dolphins for losing to good teams, but at least they don't lose to bad teams, right? So, Kansas City's now 8-4, and everyone still says they're better than the Dolphins. Well, that might be the case. Okay,
I don't think they're better.
They beat us. They didn't beat us bad, and they didn't score in the second half, and we haven't lost to bad teams. So I say what you want, but with that being said, Kansas City will not lose two games in a row. They will find a way to beat Buffalo at home in Kansas City.
I'm going to hold you to that. They will not lose 2 games in a row. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm taking Buffalo. My new team, screw the Jets. My new team is the Buffalo Bills. They're coming. They're going to roll. They are going to roll.
Why does it have to be an AFC East team?
I don't know. Just because that's what the matchup is this week. They're going to roll against Kansas City. Yeah.
They're going to roll.
They're going to roll.
Buffalo hasn't rolled the team all year.
They're going to roll.
Dolphins.
They're going to roll. If the Packers can move the ball against the Chiefs as well as they did, I don't see why Buffalo can't.
You're going to watch Buffalo all year and tell me they're going to roll Kansas City?
They're going to roll them. With Taylor Swift in attendance, they're going to roll them.
Kansas City beats Buffalo, and I don't even think it's close. I ain't shaking it.
Oh.
Well, what are you shaking on?
$10? $10.
What are you so confident in Buffalo?
I don't know. I just are you getting scared now? I mean, Kansas City's at home. It's going to be a primetime game.
Well,
I like Buffalo.
That's fine.
It's Fox's game of the week. I guarantee
it's 3:25 game.
Well, it's an afternoon slate primetime. I'm rolling with Buffalo. Obviously, Jake's a little scared. Not willing to shake my hand.
I'm going to be doing this all game, okay? Me doing this all game. Kansas City's going to move to 9-4. You know what? To be completely 100% honest with you, as a Miami Dolphins fan, I think you should root for Buffalo. Because do you want the 1 seed or do you just want to win the division?
You want the 1 seed.
So that means Dolphin fans should probably root for Buffalo. Because as long as we win, we stay 3 games ahead of Buffalo. This game means nothing to us if we win. We're still 3 games ahead of Buffalo.
As a Dolphins fan, I also think that you guys are lucky, and I think the Chiefs are lucky that the Bills didn't beat the Eagles. Because the Bills not beating the Eagles probably took so much out of that team. I mean, that was a game the Bills played their asses off and probably should have won. I mean, give credit to the Eagles kicker. That was a nuts kick that he made.
Philly did enough to win the game too.
Yeah, they did. I'm just saying that all I'm saying is who knows how Buffalo's going to respond this week. But I'm taking Buffalo.
We could have won. The Dolphins could have beat Kansas City if Tua doesn't make a dumbass interception. I mean, Philadelphia won the game because Buffalo choked.
Yeah.
Well, and that's because they're used to Josh Allen. That is what he does.
I don't think there's any franchise in the NFL that's choked as much as the Buffalo Bills.
No, they are the leader. They are atop of the Sears Tower. for that.
Broncos, Chargers. I'm taking let's
This is
ride
a-
Russell Wilson against the Chargers. The Chargers, I don't know what to ever think of them. At least I have some consistency the past couple of weeks, what I've seen out of Denver with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. I'm going to take the Broncos. They got a better defense than the Chargers.
Look,
I got the Broncos.
at least we both agree that you never know what you're going to get with the Chargers. I mean, this
like
is,
a box of chocolates.
This is the Chargers are a sleeping giant, and I say that because if their defense ever figures it out in a game, they could beat any team in this league by 20 or 30 points. They are that good offensively, and Herbert is that good of a quarterback. Now, that being said, they haven't done it really. I'm just saying they could because we've seen it. But they can't do it consistently. That's why they're not. That's why they're 5-7. I think this is a game that they get. And if you look at the Chargers' schedule, they are going to compete for that last wild card spot. And I wouldn't want to see Justin Herbert come into my team and knowing I'm going to have to put up 30 points to win. Because
he only put up 6 last week.
Well, what was the final score? I thought
6-0.
Well, that was in Foxborough. The weather was garbage. Look, when you play out east, you don't know what you're going to get. When you play out west, you're going to get sunny, 65 degrees.
Well, they're in a dome.
And they're in a dome.
Yeah.
So this offense is going to put up more than 6 points. But I do get they did look like shit. They won a game, kept their seat. I'm taking the Chargers.
Okay. I'm taking the Broncos. My Uncle Bones used to be a Bronco fan, but he's now a bandwagon. Sunday night football, Eagles, Cowboys. This will probably be one of the most watched games
of the year.
Anytime they put Dallas on Sunday night, for some reason, the ratings are fucking through the roof. Probably because they're America's team, according to whoever wants to label them that.
Yeah, but I think that's getting old. It's getting really old.
But I'm going to take Dallas against Philly.
I am taking Dallas, too. I think Dallas
should have beat him the first time.
I hate saying this because I cannot stand Skip Bayless unless he's talking about Michael Jordan. I hate everything else about Skip Bayless unless he's talking about Michael Jordan. I hate picking the Cowboys because of him, because he thinks they're so good. He thinks they're so good, and guess what? Stephen A. is going to have a heyday Monday if they lose, because this is the chance for Dallas to make that leap. Just like this is the chance for the Dolphins to make that leap over the Bills. So far they have. But if Dallas loses, they're not winning the division. You don't go 0-2 versus the number 1 team in your division and win. They have to get – well, here's my question. They're 1-1 versus each other with the same record. Then you go to conference wins. So I don't know who's in first place if Dallas wins. Let's look that up. So,
well, if it's strictly conference wins, I think it's still Philadelphia would be ahead of them, I think. I'm going to take Dallas. I know we shouldn't use the word should have, but I mean, Dallas was literally like Dak Prescott barely stepping out of bounds away from beating the Eagles the first time in Philly. And Dak Prescott's playing really good ball, which you don't always hear. And CeeDee Lamb's playing out of his freaking mind. So I'm going to take Dallas Sunday night in a close one.
Dallas is really scary. I mean, you just mentioned all their firepower. And I'm taking Dallas too. But I'm just saying this is going to be so cowboy for them to lose this game, because they do this every year. They've lost 3 games, okay? They're not indestructible. So, but I got Dallas. This can be the best, might be one of the best games of the year.
Their first matchup was
It's going to
really
be
good.
hard to top the Philly-Buffalo game. That was really, really good. Here we got another one.
Tennessee at Miami. We'll start off with Tennessee at Miami. Tennessee at Miami. Jake, go ahead.
So we haven't talked much about the Dolphins because, let's be honest, that game versus the Redskins was how it needed to be. They've dominated in every phase of the game. You were able to rest your starters the entire fourth quarter. That's not really that's kind of unheard of in the NFL. They probably could arrest him at halftime. And I don't think Derrick Henry is going to be available for this game. He's not in concussion protocol. The Tennessee Titans came out and said that he's not. So I don't know what's going on there, that he was and now he's not. Something happened there. Even if he comes back, I don't
even think it matters.
The Dolphins are just They just have too much.
The defense still looks phenomenal.
This is the reason why the Dolphins are a different team now than they were 5 weeks ago. The defense is playing out of their minds, and they're playing out of their minds with everybody hurt. Phillips got hurt. We just lost Jerome Baker. So guys are having to step in. Andrew Van Ginkel, who I think should be starting regardless, looked terrific. Had a pick six. Got to the quarterback twice. Made 6 tackles. Really, really good. Really solid backup. I think he should be starting. I mean, the guy is amazing. And everything looks up for the Dolphins. You play Tennessee, and then you get the Jets. I mean, you should be 11-3 coming into the biggest game of the year at Dallas. Not at Dallas. They play the Cowboys in Miami. So everything looks up. 3 home games in a row versus 3 teams you should win. You can't overlook these teams. They are an NFL team. You got to beat Tennessee, and you got to get some help for the 1 seed elsewhere, which is why you got to root for
Buffalo.
You got to root for Cincinnati tonight, and then next week you got to root for Buffalo to beat Kansas City.
You got to root for the Rams.
Then
the Rams.
You are 2 games ahead of Kansas City for that 1 seed. So they would kind of be probably almost out of it.
You know, Mahomes has never had to play a road game in the playoffs.
That's about as incredible as you could ever do.
He's been in the NFL 7 years.
That is consistency.
Yeah. The closest thing he's played to an away game was when he played the Bucks in the Super Bowl, which ended up being in Tampa.
So I got Miami. I'm sure Cole does too. I don't know
why
he wouldn't.
I got Miami as well. I think Tyreek Hill is going to get to 2,000 yards this year, barring any setbacks.
And your injuries, yeah.
He's looked phenomenal this year. And to be honest, if there was a year where I'd feel comfortable giving the MVP to somebody not a quarterback, I think Tyreek Hill is deserving of it. The guy's playing nuts. If you take him off that team, Jake, I'm sorry, but they're not the same team. I think you can agree with me on that. They'd still be a pretty decent team, but without Tyreek Hill, they wouldn't be competing for the 1 seed and my favorites to come out of the AFC. But I'm going to take the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think everybody will.
And lastly, I'm going to take my Green Bay Packers to beat the Giants. This is kind of a scary game. The reason I say that is because I feel like they can. I feel like it can be a trap game. It's going to be in MetLife where a lot of good players seem to get fucking hurt.
You need to pray to the gods. You need to do something before this game.
So
I'm just telling you, 15 injuries have happened at MetLife.
And they're not just little injuries. They're season-ending. Yeah.
At MetLife since it's been built.
So I don't really like those statistics, but they're true.
You know the Packers are 16-0 under LaFleur in December?
Yeah, I do know that. So I'm hoping that continues this week. And I'll say this. The Packers coming off 2 humongous wins, 3 wins in a row. They're going to come into this game. And I just hope they don't come into it too hot-headed. I hope LaFleur keeps calling plays the way that he's doing.
Run the ball.
And just be confident in what you're doing. And I think they can. I think they can handle this Giants team. I think they win.
I would fucking hope so. I'm just telling you, Tommy DeVito, touchdown Tommy DeVito. Pretty good quarterback. Illinois. Pretty good quarterback. They don't ask him to do too much. This is the game where the Packers need to not ask Love to do it all. Run the ball north and south. Dylan had a really good game. Okay, yeah. He didn't show up fantasy-wise, but he had a really good game.
He's just a consistent guy. He's not nuts, but he's consistent.
What I like is they didn't ask Dylan to do too much. They just ran him right up the middle all the time.
That's what he's built to do.
And they just let Love throw it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to pinpoint it. Just let that sucker go. He did that. That touchdown pass to
Watson
to give him the
when they went up 21-12.
That was a jump ball, but it was thrown to where only he could catch it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He threw it over the defender who couldn't get to it. He was in good. It was good covered.
Now, if we're talking about throws here, that was an amazing throw. But I think an even better throw was when that 4th and 1, where they ended up throwing a deep ball.
Hail Mary.
I don't know if it was a hail, but he dropped it. It was right into Dobbs' arms. That was a perfect ball.
That was a perfect ball, but that was a scary ball because that ball was up in the air so long. And if those defenders turned their head, I get it. It worked out, but that was You can't tell me when that ball was up in the air, you're like, oh my God. But then you seen the middle open because they weren't there yet. But the thing is they were having time to get there because he had to loft it.
Yeah.
I think that other throw was if not better. I mean, that was an amazing back shoulder, only where he could get it.
We both got the Packers in this one. And also, just how about that 2020 NFL quarterback draft class? You got Burrow, Herbert, Tua, J. Love. I feel like I'm missing somebody, Jake.
Burrow, Tua, Jordan Love, Herbert.
I feel like I'm missing somebody. Am I missing somebody?
Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Love.
I don't think I am. If I am, let me know in the comments. But this is what we got for this week.
This is a very good quarterback class, and you could see these teams becoming the next teams of
the future
of year after year after year, consistently good. This is the third year in a row the Dolphins are going to be over 500. This is the second year in a row they're going to make the playoffs. The third year, honestly, the one year where they were 10-6 and didn't make it, that's crazy. This could be the third year in a row where the Miami Dolphins make the playoffs. And growing up, I was always coming to your house being like, fuck, when do I ever get to see this? So this is pretty, nice to see for a while.
Yeah.
And 3 years in a row is starting to build consistently, starting to be a respectful team. I think they've done that. Well, I think they've well done that.
And I think a big part of it is due to, I'd put Tyreek at the top and I'd put Tua right below him.
Yeah, because, say what you want. Jalen Waddle's, he had a pretty good year last year. And I know he's kind of but he made a couple catches in the Redskins game where there were good catches and they were good balls, and you need that.
Yeah. He's solid. He is solid.
He's probably a one on a lot of other teams.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you. I don't really have anything else to add. Jake, you got anything?
Nope.
Everybody enjoy the games this week. We'll see you next time.